So the reason I skipped over depth of field in the post-processing volume back on that episode is because while you could just go in there and set the depth of field how you like, I'm going to show you how to implement updating depth of field so it automatically focuses on what you're looking at and puts everything else out of focus. This is an aesthetic choice I see in some horror indie games. It can be a nice effect in the right settings, but other games you just want a regular constant focus like how it is at default. So let's go to our L1 character, which I have open right here, and I'm going to create a function called update DOF for depth of field, and I'm going to create a line trace. So line trace by channel. The start is going to be the camera, get world location. The end will be the camera's forward vector multiplied by a certain amount. I'm going to make mine 300 and then add it on to the world location. And we're going to create a branch from the return value. So we only want to continue this if we hit something. Let's break the out hit result. And we're going to create a local variable called local DOF for depth of field. It's going to be type float. And we're going to set it off the true path right here. And what we want to set it to is the location minus, not minus int, location vector minus vector, the world location of our camera. And we will get the length of this, so vector length, and that is going to be our depth of field. If we don't hit anything, which means we're too far away from something to focus on something, we're going to set the local depth of field to 0. Now we need to actually set it in our camera's post-process effects, so bring up the camera again, and we're going to set post-process settings right here. Just connect these two, and we're going to make it right here. And since there's so many, instead of just actually having them all listed here, we actually have to check which ones we want to affect. So we'll just search for focal distance under lens depth of field, and that'll create it as a pin. And the other one we want is depth blur radius under lens depth of field. So the focal distance is just going to be our local depth of field, where our depth blur radius will come from a select node, and we only want to make this an amount if we are focusing on something, and we will check that by seeing if our local depth of field is equal to 0. So if our local depth of field is equal to 0, it means we're not actively focusing on something, so we want to leave the depth blur radius to 0, not to blur anything out. But if it's false, what we do want to blur out, we're going to set to a value of 250. Alright, so I'm just going to add a return node, because that's good practice to get into. And we have our function all set up. And then in the event graph, we're going to create, if it's not already created, the event tick. It's not. And we're just going to throw in our update depth of field. So we can test this now. So our camera is now every tick shooting out a line trace 300 units ahead of us. And since it's probably not hitting anything right now, everything looks normal. But if we get up close to something, you can see in the back there, it gets slightly out of focus, which it previously wouldn't be. And if we look over there, it shifts to become in focus because we're, I don't think it's hitting the stairs, so everything just becomes in focus right there. And it happens rather smoothly, which is really nice. Can maybe Let's bring a trash can out in the center to kind of test this more. So if you look at the trash can, it's in focus while everything else behind is rather out of focus, but we look away and everything becomes in focus once more. It's a pretty nice effect, and it adds a lot of cinematic quality, which is nice. We can try to kind of exacerbate the effect by bumping up the amount of depth of blur. Kind of see what it looks like a little better. So yeah, so now it's way more blurry when we focus on this. And this could be the effect you want. You could maybe want to go a little extreme with it. I think both look good. This one definitely appears more cinematic, but it's also slightly choppier because it just snaps to it. And it could definitely be harmful in the end for your character because it's harder to see in the distance what is coming. But that could be part of your game design. It is up to you. Alright, this is going to be it for the updating depth of field. I will see you in the next episode.